are going to hear from Leigh Martindale, professor and department chair at SUNY Broome.
I started at Windsor High School, did my education K through 12 at Windsor, graduated in 2006, and didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a good student. I liked sports. I liked pretty much all subject areas, but I was unsure about what I wanted to do, and I had applied to Syracuse University because I really wanted to go to Syracuse. However, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and my parents looked at me and said, "Leigh, you are not going to go to Syracuse University and not know what you want to do." So they said, "Why don't you look at the community college and start at Broome?" I hemmed and hawed as any 17-year-old would because my parents told me something and I didn't want to listen. But I applied to Broome. I decided to major just in like a general studies and take some gen eds and then figure it out. I knew that I liked, the criminal justice system. I had interest in law. I really wanted to be an attorney. And I also had an interest and a love for the Spanish language. So I took some of those classes here, and I was able to play tennis here and have a really great tennis career at Broome. And then after that, about midway through my freshman year here, I had quite a few credits left over from high school. So I then decided to transfer to Niagara University. So what do we do about that social media post? In terms of how I got into teaching, I never expected when I received my bachelor's in Spanish and then my master's in criminal justice that I was going to go into teaching. It was never a passion of mine or a dream of mine. However, I started at the Broome County Public Defender's Office as an intake specialist, and then I actually worked for the Division of Criminal Justice Services in Albany in the Juvenile Justice Unit. And I really liked those two jobs. I liked, working not only in the community, but on the policy end of things, with judges, attorneys, law enforcement. I really enjoyed that. But I actually was approached by the former chair of this department that asked me, "Do you want to teach a class here? Just one class as an adjunct." So I said, "Sure, I guess I'll teach a class." Very nervous. I felt like I was only a little bit older than a lot of the students or the same age. And I taught one class and I was hooked. I loved helping the students kind of figure out their passions and being in the classroom and bringing current events into the classroom and things like that. So, fast forward, I started to take on more classes as they asked me to, and eventually I was teaching 2 and 3 classes for them, and finally a full-time line opened up for an assistant professor, and I applied for it, and I've been here for 10 years now, which is crazy to me. In January, I just took over as the department chair. Honestly, advice that I would give anyone, truly, whether it's someone that's a 3.5-year-old or somebody that's in middle school or somebody that's in high school, or even the advice I just gave to my students, be a good human, a sense of empathy. We live in a world that is consistently infiltrated with thoughts of everybody, especially on social media, and sometimes you can't differentiate one thing from the next. So just being a good human and treating everybody with respect and understanding that, you don't walk in somebody's shoes, and kind of looking at it from like big picture, big lens. That would be my advice, and that it's okay to change your mind. That's okay too, because especially in middle school, you have these ideas of, maybe what you want to do this summer, or where you want to go, or what sport you want to play, or what instrument you want to be, involved with. And it's okay to change. It's okay to try new things because you only get one chance at life. So you might as well, try as many things as you can. It's okay to fail. And by failing, I don't mean to just give up and not try, because that's not something that is going to work out for you in the long run if you're not attempting and not trying. That kind of goes back to trying new things, but allowing yourself to fail and then get better at something, and allowing maybe that failure to change the trajectory and change where you're going to go. If you have a class that you don't necessarily enjoy and you don't do well at it, it's okay to fail and find something else. as long as, you pick yourself back up and try again.
People want so badly to change something, right?
Favorite part of my job? Oh, the students, hands down, the students. The students in the community. So we're in criminal justice and emergency services. We're really lucky to have a great relationship with all of our community partners. So in our department, we have a criminal justice track for our students. We have a homeland security and emergency management track for our students. And we also have a paramedic track for our students, which EMT is in there as well. And allowing to see everything big picture, first responder wise in the community, and really realizing that we're giving our students that education that they can turn around and use in the community. That's the favorite part of my job. Seeing all that kind of come to fruition and our students making those connections here and then allowing them to utilize that in the community or wherever they go, that's the best part of the job by far. I like my job as a whole, but there's always pieces in every job and in every facet of life that you're not going to like. When my mother used to tell me to pick up my room, I may not have liked that, right? But I did it because it made her happy. I think that doing things that allow things to keep moving and keep running. Right now, I'm working on the schedule for the next year, and I don't necessarily love that part of my job. However, because it can be frustrating, but I know that there's an end goal. And knowing that there's an end goal and that it's going to benefit our students in the long run and help somebody else and, make my mom happy, as it were, or make other people's jobs easier if we all work together, that's how I kind of get past pieces of my job that I don't like, because I know there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I would say the most important skills are fairness, to be fair across the board. One of my predecessors that was here and chair before I took over as chair just recently, she always instilled in me, if you do it for one, you have to do it for all. So being fair across the board to all students. I don't know, the backgrounds, the situations, the experiences that my students have been through. I teach a course called Victimology, and I'm always shocked and floored at how many of my students have been through things that are either very traumatic or just things that I've never experienced. So being, respectful of them and their experiences and understanding that everybody ticks differently, and that we talk about some really heavy things in my class. So really kind of treating them all with that respect and that understanding of, I don't know what they've been through. Day-to-day changes all the time. So when I started as an adjunct, I was working another full-time job, another part-time job, and teaching here. So my day looked completely different 10 years ago than it does today. Today, it's always different. There's always something coming up that's different. So typically, I get here around 9 a.m. I teach 2 classes. I teach 3. I teach 1 online, but I teach 2 face-to-face classes, but I'm also in meetings. I'm on different committees. It depends on the day. We're doing a mock disaster actually in May, mock disaster exercise. I'm on that committee and planning that and what that's gonna look like. People in general, young, elderly, doesn't matter, anywhere in between, they don't understand that criminal justice and emergency services is such a huge field. It encompasses a wide variety of things. I kind of explained that earlier, where we've got our criminal justice track, but that could mean that some of our students want to be an attorney. That could mean that they want to be law enforcement, or they have a goal of being a corrections officer, or a court clerk, or a paralegal, or a victim advocate, or a social worker even. And then we have our whole emergency services aspect of things, the other side of the law enforcement and criminal justice system piece, with the first responders and EMS and paramedic and EMT, homeland security and emergency management. We have students that go work in Office of Emergency Services, dispatch, or they go work for the federal government, whether it's the Department of Homeland Security, or there's just so many different ways that they can go in that, TSA, FBI, DEA, things like that. So we're consistently trying to bring people in. The possibilities really are endless. It's not just, oh, I want to go get a criminal justice degree.